Hi preschool, it's Miss Alyssa. I hope you guys are doing well and staying healthy. I am here today to show you what we will be doing in OT next week. I have my bins with me, 1, 2, and 3. Hand strengthening, our cut and paste activity, and self-help skills. So we're going to start with number 1. So I know some of you guys are working on some earlier developmental skills, so I want to show you 2 things that you can do for hand strength. So the first one I have is for kids who are a little bit younger developmentally, and that is, I have a piggy bank, and if you don't have a piggy bank at home, you can make a slotted container out of a Tupperware and some coins or buttons. So this is a great skill for kids who need to learn to use the radial side of their hand, or a pincer grasp, and if they're still working on picking up small items. So you're gonna have them put the coins into the slotted container. So you can see they have to use these fingers. They can't use their whole hand. And if you think about buttoning, it's a very similar skill where we have to push the button through the hole, or they can use the piggy bank. So that's for our early learners. And then for kids who are a little bit older developmentally, I have another activity for hand strength. And for that, you will need a piece of cork, a cork board. I'm using a hot pad, or you can use a dry sponge for this. You'll need a dark piece of paper and a paper clip or a push pin. If you're using a paper clip, you want to pull one end out so you have the sharp end that can simulate the push pin. What you're going to do is put your dark piece of paper on the cork or on the sponge and make a shape or a letter. So I'll make a triangle. Some kids are working on learning their shapes. And you're going to keep that on the cork and pick up the push pin or the paper clip and push down into the cork while staying on the line. I don't know if you guys can see those little holes there. And you're going to go all the way around. And this is great because it gives a little bit of resistance for hand strength. You have to use your pincer fingers. It encourages an efficient writing grasp. So I love this activity, and kids really love it too. And sometimes you can find those larger push pins. Those are great because they have a bigger handle on them. And also, I just want to tell you, if you have little ones at home that might put something small in their mouth that is not food, you want to make sure you keep the sharp objects away. And then when you're done, your child can take this over to the window and hold it against the light in the window, and it's a little sun catcher. It's really fun. If you don't have any of those items at home, we can always do therapy putty or Play-Doh to warm up our hands for cutting and writing. So we're going to set that bin aside. Bin number 2 has our cut and paste for this week, and we're going to do a spring-summer theme. This is actually more summer. You can tell what I'm thinking. This is a sailboat. So we're going to work on our shapes and tearing paper and cutting and folding. So you'll need blue paper. This is when you can really use your scrap paper. I'm only using half sheets of paper to conserve. Dark colored paper. I'm going to use brown today and red. You'll need markers, glue, and scissors, and something square to trace. So I don't know, anything square around your house. You can use a raisin box. You can use a Tupperware lid. It doesn't matter. Just remember, if you use a smaller item, your boat is going to be really small. So the first thing you want to do is set your, you'll need a white piece of paper too for the background. I just use printer paper. The first thing you want to do is take your blue paper, and you can start the edges for kids who have trouble tearing. You want to tear long pieces of paper. Just 3 or 4 times. You're only going to need about 3 of these, maybe 4. And those are your waves. So you're going to set those aside. And then you're going to take your square object or stencil and trace it 2 times, once on each color. So we have 2 squares. And actually, you can have your child practice drawing a square and connecting dots. They can draw their own square. And then we're going to cut those out. So when you cut, make sure the thumb is in the little hole. And the wrist is straight in a neutral position. The other thing you want to remind your child to do is to stop and turn the paper when they get to a corner. Sometimes they try to cut all the way around the shape without turning the paper, and that can lead to some difficulty. So when you're done, you should have 2 squares. Let's set these aside. Now we're going to practice folding. So for the brown square, or one of your squares, any color, you're going to fold that in half to practice folding and lining up corners. That is on every standardized test I ever administer. And we're going to cut that in half for the base of our boat. And then you're going to take your other square and fold it diagonally. So if you want, you can actually do little dots to help your child fold. They have to line up the dots. So to fold diagonally, they have to take this dot all the way up to this dot. And then you have a triangle. Then you made a line, so you're going to cut on that line to make 2 triangles, and those will be your sails. Now we can start putting everything together. So you'll need your glue. Now on the bottom of your paper, you're going to practice making lines across. So you just need to do that 2 times. And this is great for left to right tracking, visual tracking, drawing lines across. And you're going to take 2 strips of your blue paper and put them on the bottom to make water. And then you're going to take your boat, or your half of square, and put that down. And then you'll take a 3rd or 4th strip of blue paper and put that on, and you might want to overlap that a little bit on your square so it looks like your boat is in the water. Next, we're going to put on the sails. So this could be tricky for some kids for positioning. So you want to make sure this side is on the outside to make 1 sail. So you can have them look for that L, or that 90-degree angle there. And then they're going to do the same thing on the other side. And there you have it. You have a boat in the water. Now, if you have a yellow or orange marker, you can have your child practice making a circle for the sun and coloring within boundaries. So we always work on that in preschool. And you may want to make the outside of the circle maybe a darker color to give them a visual cue for coloring in the lines. And then they can practice their diagonals by drawing rays on their sun. And there you have it, a nice boat with a bright sun. So that is our cut and paste for this week. And we have incorporated everything: ripping, cutting, drawing lines across, recognizing shapes, cutting shapes, folding, drawing a circle, drawing diagonal. So I love this activity. I'm going to set that aside. And the last bin always has buttons, snaps, and zips. So I won't spend too much time on this because we do this every week. But just find an old jacket or hoodie with a zipper and keep it handy. And I always tell the kids in the bottom here, I tell them to look for the little garage, and this little key looks like a car. Put the car in the garage. Now I'm actually holding it the wrong way. You want them to hold thumbs up. So always have them hold thumbs up. I'm just trying to show you in the camera here. And then pull up. And then buttons, we talked about earlier with the piggy bank. That piggy bank's really gonna help with buttoning. So I always say, just like putting that coin in the bank, put it in, but peekaboo. See it coming out? Pull it through. And you may have to help and feed the button partially into the hole and have your child pull it through on the other side. So I always say peekaboo, pull it through. And I have snaps too. Most kids need help with alignment for snaps, so I always start flat on the table and I have them look for that little circle and this little part sticking up here, and I have them listen for the pop when they push down. And for weak hands, it's always best to push with the thumb because that is your strongest finger. So you hear the pop. And again, you listen for the pop. And that's snapping. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm looking forward to our Zoom visit. If you don't get to the Zoom visit, you can do this on your own. And you can even break this up into shorter activities. Do, activity 1, and maybe the next day do activity 2 and then activity 3. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you soon.